Hello, my CNC brother or sister. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, the company that provides you with your CNC router bits to carve those amazing projects on your CNC router. In this video, I'm going to answer a question from our CNC brother, David. This question comes up all the time. This has to do with something called DXF files. When you create a project in your design software, you're creating a lot of vectors, and every vector has what we call nodes. Nodes are these transition points that your software needs to have in order to know when one line goes like this and where it goes like that, and they're connector dots, right? So they have to be there. However, if you get a file off of Etsy or something like David did, and you are getting a DXF file, particularly this one, this is a problem because it has so many nodes in it that it bogs the entire system down. So first of all, this is the file that David sent me. It is a Christmas box, kind of like those pumpkin boxes that people make on their CNC routers. This one is designed specifically for CNC lasers, but he is still going to make it on his CNC router. That's beside the point. The point is there's a ton of nodes in this project. As you can see right here, when I select this particular item right here, there's just nothing but a ton of black dots just on this one element. Now, my computer is super fast, and I'm loading this thing and it is really bogging it down. Here is the problem when you have so many nodes. There's actually three problems. Number one, it bogs your computer down because every node is a mathematical point that your computer has to calculate. And when you have 100,000 nodes in a project, that's a lot of calculations as that computer has to figure out. Number two is when it generates the toolpath for that project. Every node is a transition point, and every node gets a new line in the G code. And so there are so many nodes that the software, when it's calculating out the toolpath, there's just a ton of toolpath lines that it has to calculate. So it's going to take a really long time. I mean, look how complex this project is. It's a really cool one, but that's a lot of points that the software has to calculate out. And number three is the time that it's going to take on your CNC router. All these black nodes is really going to suck down your router time because they're all transition points. The thing with black nodes is it is a direction change. So that means that your CNC router has to stop and then make that direction change and start up again. So it's a ton of acceleration, deceleration. We want to trim that down quite a bit. So we are going to get into my computer. I'm going to explain to you how all these nodes are generated from a project that shouldn't have it in the first place. And then I'm going to show you how to fix this problem. So let's get into my computer. We're going to look at David's project here. This thing is insane. All right. Don't worry, David, we're going to get you all fixed up. First of all, I want to go to show you how all these nodes are created. So we're going to open up my Vectric, a new Vectric here, and I'm going to create a single line. We're going to use the freehand drawing tool, and I am going to simply make a squirrely line just like that. Now, I'm going to escape out of that, and I am going to hit the letter N to activate nodes for the item that's selected. So I hit that, and you see we have a few nodes. These are like these transition nodes. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 nodes. Beautiful. This project will carve out in 10 seconds. So 13 nodes. So I'm going to escape out of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to export this vector. So in the Vectric software, you come up to the top and click File and come down to Export. And we are going to select DXF. And then we're going to save this file. We're just going to call it Node 1. Now, I'm going to re-import this little vector that we just created. So this one is the original one right there. So we're going to go back to File and come down to, oops, we're going to go to File, and we're going to come down to Import and import vectors. And then we're going to double click that particular file. It's a DXF file. And now it just copied it in. It just overlaid it right over top. So I'm going to use my arrow keys. Here's a little tip. The arrow keys on your computer, if you select a vector and then you start pressing the arrow keys, you can move that down or left or right. Okay, so this is the new one that we just imported. It's the DXF line. It's the exact same line, but watch this when I hit the N button. I have hundreds of nodes, and basically what the DXF does is it's creating a ton of straight lines that are going all the way through here. And it's just doing its best to create all of these vectors. Now I want to briefly explain to you what has happened with that line. We drew that squirrely line just like that. And the software created these nodes. They're blue nodes. They're what they call smooth curves. So there's a node here, there's one up here, one over here, here, just a few different nodes. And that is just what the software created because it's kind of a weird curve. Then we saved it as a DXF. Now DXF, when files are converted to DXF, DXF is literally nothing but straight lines. So the software does its best to maintain this curve with a bunch of straight lines. So now it's making a whole bunch of points, literally hundreds of points, that are nothing but a whole bunch of little tiny straight lines. Now this file that David has, this has hundreds of thousands of nodes, a bunch of micro straight lines, right? So that's why I'm saying this is a problem with your computer and with you working with the model or the design because it has so many nodes. It's very difficult to edit it, and it also, like I said, it makes your computer have to do a ton of calculating. And this is why DXF files that you get off of Etsy or something like that is such a problem. It's not the person who is creating the file that gives you all the nodes, it's the fact that they convert it from this type of design into a DXF file. What you want to do is get SVGs whenever you can, but we're going to fix it here in the software. So let's get back into this and I'm going to show you how to fix it. Now, how do we fix this one? Well, here's how we do this. I'm going to escape out a node and we have that selected, and we're going to come over to this Edit Objects. And you come down to the third row, the third icon from the left. It says Curve Fit. It's this like little sine curve there. It says Fit Curves to Selected Vectors. So we're going to select that. And up top, you see these three buttons. The first one says Circular Arcs. Second one says Bezier curves, and the third one says straight lines. So I am going to teach you how to work with this curve fit tool so you can fix these DXF files actually fairly quickly. This is an important tool that you need to learn about in the Vectric software. It's a little more advanced, but understanding it is just going to help you out a ton. So let's get back into this, and I'm going to walk you through how these tools work. And then we're going to get into David's project, and I'm going to show you some interesting things to fix up his project to make it work so much better. Yes, and you, my friend, are going to be able to work with these different types of files when you get them all straightened up. Let's do this. Okay, so we are going to work through this, and I'm going to explain this fit curves to vector, and then we're going to run through David's project. So this is going to be a fun, big awareness for you as to how you can make some serious changes to make your projects work so much better. So in this project, we've imported this DXF file, and you know that DXF files import as a straight line or a series of straight lines. So every one of these nodes here, or in between the nodes, is a straight line. I'm going to show you and prove it to you. We're going to cancel out of the fit curve to vectors. And now I have this line highlighted. I'm going to zoom out for a minute. We're going to hit the N button and bring in those thousands and thousands of nodes. Now, you think this is bad, think about David's project. We're going to switch over to that real quick so you can just see what I mean. We're going to just click into here and we'll just do it again. I'm just going to highlight that right there. And look, it's nothing but a ton. Just this little bit. So he's probably has several million nodes in here that are just making this thing a nightmare. All right, we're going to come back to the other one. We've got that. So first, we're going to go back into fit, fit curves to vectors. And I'm going to show you how to work with this fit curves to vectors. We're going to come back in here. One, it says circular arcs. Next one is Bezier curves, straight lines. Then there's this tolerance. And then we have this little checkbox, keep sharp corners. And we are going to check that. And then down below it says make angle 60 degrees. Max angle. I've never really worked with the angle here. So one thing I definitely want you to keep checked all the time is replace selected vectors. If you don't have that checked, when you do this, actually activate this little segment here, this fit curve to vectors, it's going to create a duplicate line. We don't want a duplicate line, so just keep that checked. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is come up to these selections, and we're going to select straight lines, because we are going to change David's straight line thing to another straight line thing. And so I want to show you, before we get into that, I'm going to back up a minute. We're going to get out of that. We're going to go into node mode, and we're going to just zoom in. I want to show you how you can see that this is straight lines. So we got the black nodes, and there's a little tick mark right in the middle. If you hold over that tick mark with your left mouse button and drag it out, now we've created another node and another straight line. So this is a little cool little tool that you will know about now. All right, Control Z, going to get out of that, going to go back into curved fit, and we are on straight lines, and I have my tolerance set to 0.1. So how the tolerance comes in, I'm not really sure how to elaborate on what the tolerance is, because I just don't know how to explain it. But watch what happens when I hit the preview. I'm going to zoom out for a minute so we see the whole thing, and we're going to click preview, and now this really exaggerates the straight line thing. I'm going to click OK, and then we're going to get off it. And you can see that what we did is we have just created a bunch of straight lines. Basically, we just told it we don't want so many nodes. We're going to reduce the amount by changing that tolerance. I selected that and hit node, and that's how many nodes we have now. That would ruin David's project. We don't want to do that. So I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that. But now you understand the tolerance, because you're going to tweak the tolerance as you move along. So, okay, so we did straight lines. What we did was we just worked with his line, and we just created nodes with straight lines. But we can change this to Bezier curves and arcs as well in between each node. So I'm going to come up and click circular arcs, and we're going to preview that with the 0.1 tolerance, and click preview. And now look what we have. We have reduced the number of nodes dramatically. We're going to click OK. I'm going to bring us up to this line again. I'm going to click node, and now we have the black nodes, but we have this little box in the middle. What this is between each node is an arc with a radius. It's a piece of a circle, basically. And I'm going to prove it to you. We're going to just grab one of those little black boxes, or a little box in between the black boxes right there, and I'm going to hold my left mouse button down and drag it out. And you can see it's a perfect half circle. We can't drag anywhere past 180 degrees of an arc. So I'm going to hit Control Z. I'm going to escape out of that. We're going to double click this so we can get this little pick bead up right in the middle, and I'm going to drag this, I'm going to drag this up, and we're going to see how well it matches up with the other drawing. And it's off a little bit, so that means our tolerance is too tight, or too loose, put it that way. I'm going to bring it back down. We're going to go back into, we're going to Control Z twice, 3 times, to bring it back to its original thing. Now we're going to hit node again. We're back to all those nodes. We're going to go back into curve fit tool, and I'm going to change the circular arc tolerance from 0.1 to 0.01. Preview, and now we have quite a few more arcs. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to double click that line, and we're going to see how much better it fits over top of it. And that is much better. It's still a little loose, but David, you can start working with this stuff right here. All right, Control Z and Control Z again, just to restore it back to where it was. I'm going to hit node to make sure. We're going to go back into curve fit tool. Before we go back into that, I want you to see what the original one looks like. This one has the blue nodes. It's all smooth nodes. These are Bezier curves. So with that, we're going to escape out of that. I don't want to select the one on top, so we're just going to deselect everything. Reselect David's. I'm going to hit the curve fit tool. Going to go into Bezier curves, and we're going to preview, and we're going to count these nodes that is creating. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Exactly what is on David's. Let's see how this one looks. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to double click that one, get that little bead right in the middle, and I'm going to move it up. And we're going to nudge it over using my arrow keys. And that is almost an exact fit. Not quite, but almost, but dang, that's good. So this little tweaking with this curve fit tool and playing around with it, David, you'll be able to really clean up your project, and we're going to do that right now. I just want you to understand this curve fit tool, you're going to need to play with this a little bit to really get a feel for it. And remember, whatever changes you make, then you can undo them and change the tolerance, change the selection, straight lines, the arcs, or the Bezier curves, all kinds of things. Now, we're going to go with David's thing, and we're going to do several different changes to it so that you see how we're going to fix this thing up. So let's get on to David's project. I'm just going to escape out of this one, and we're going to go over to David's. And okay, so the first thing I want to point out here is, number one, we have straight lines. All the framing is straight lines. And then inside the framing is a bunch of black nodes, right? But look what happens with the straight lines. We're in node mode, so we're going to click on a straight line for this box right there. And look how many nodes are in here. We don't need that. These are straight lines. This is designed so we can, because it's straight, we only need one node at one corner and one node at the other corner. That's it. So we need to eliminate all those other nodes by turning a straight line like that has a million nodes going across it into a straight line that has 2 nodes for every straight line. David's project looks like this on the boundaries of each piece. So we're going to take where all these nodes, we just have one node on each corner. And that will make this project, just that part of the project, run so much better on your CNC. Watch this. Super easy. So we are going to, first of all, find everything that has a straight line around the boundaries. And maybe even inside the project too. We got a bunch of straight lines here. So David, here's what you do, and anybody else that's working with this kind of stuff, even if it's a much simpler project. We're going to select all the things that we can find with straight lines. And first of all, that's going to be all these frames. So I'm going to take my mouse up to the upper right corner, hold the left mouse button down. I'm going to drag across so I touch all these frames, and we have selected that. Now we're going to hold the shift button down, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit because we got more stuff here. Okay, I'm going to grab the frames on the side. We're going to grab in the middle. We've got these hexagons and the little cutouts for the pieces to fit in. Going to grab those. And we need to grab them all. So we're going to have to grab some stuff that we don't want to grab, and then we will ungrab it. So I am going to go right up in the corner, right in this area, and we're going to highlight any frame we can touch, because I want to get everything. Now I don't want the circle. You see this little circle right there, so I'm going to hold the shift button down, deselect that. We're going to deselect this circle right there, and I am going to go and select all the other framing. Now I know that there's just a ton of nodes, and my computer is going really slow because of how many nodes there are. I'm going to grab these, 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 I'm going to I'm holding my shift button down. I'm going to re-grab that. I'm going to grab that one, that one. All right, I think we're ready to go. I can grab these things inside the, something like this. So David, I'm not going to run through all this, but I just want to give you the idea of what you want to look for to simplify all this stuff. Okay, so I got a bunch of boxes here. Now, when I hit node N, I just hit it and I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. There we go. So many nodes. All right, with all those selected, we're going to go into the curve fit tool. And I want you to go up to straight lines, select straight lines. The tolerance, that's okay. We can keep that. We want to keep sharp corners. Preview. Now it's going to do a bunch of calculating, and now we have knocked that down by thousands of nodes. We are going to click OK. And now we have made this thing a lot simpler. And we're going to zoom in, and I'm going to just click on, well, let's go to one that you saw. The computer's actually already acting faster just by doing that. We're going to grab this one right there that we selected before, hit N, and look at that. Now we have our node from one point on the line to the other, much simpler. It has totally simplified up this project. Now, it's going to get a little more tricky when we get into the really fine details, because you're going to have to tweak around with it until you get the right tolerance set up on it and you choose the right node curve fit selection. That's the straight line, arc, or the Bezier curve. Now, the idea is you want to use the Bezier curve because those are smooth nodes, and that is going to create a smooth transition point for your router bit as it's going around. It'll speed things up, I promise you. So it's just going to take some work to get the right thing. So we're just going to work on one area. I'm going to come right into, let's work on this little star right here. And I'm going to select just these elements. Just going to create a window there. So right there we probably have 3,000 nodes. I'm going to go into Curve Fit tool. And I'm going to switch to Bezier curves. We're going to try the tolerance of 0.01. We're going to keep everything else selected and click Preview. And in this case, I'm going to do something. We are going to come into here where it says Replace Selected Vectors, and I'm going to uncheck that because I want to see what the difference is. Because what's going to happen is it's going to create another copy, and you'll be able to see how the fix matches with the original. So with that, I have that Replace Selected Vectors. That means it's going to create a copy. We're going to click Preview. And that is what's going to happen. So basically, the black line that's there is the original. So you can see how we've distorted the shape. The dotted line is what the software is trying to create. So let's try to fix our tolerance. So we're going to bring our tolerance to 0.005 and preview that again. And when I hit that, it's looking a lot better. It's not exact, but I want to remind you, on something like this, a project that has so much detail, people aren't going to see those little tiny deviations. So I wouldn't worry about something like this myself if I was making it. I would like to see some comments down below of how you have worked with the Curve Fit tool to make your stuff come out much better. I'm going to work through this a little bit more. I'm going to clean it up a ton, and I'm going to show you how reduced we can get this. So we are going to continue to go with this. I'm going to click Preview. Let's go ahead and do this. I like it with the Bezier curves at that tolerance. When we are doing it at this size right here, I'm going to click OK, and you can see that we still have maintained pretty much the shapes that we want. Now we're going to work through one more element of this so you can see how this is going to clean up one of these frames that David has in his project by a ton. Now, I want to make a really important point here. You see this picture in the screen right now. This is the picture that David sent me. It's kind of a rough picture, but you get an idea of the detail in it. When we are creating and refining this kind of stuff and tightening it up, making it look better, getting rid of nodes, sometimes we can get really anal about the detail, make it exact. I am, at least, and that can be detrimental. In this case, this project is so detailed. When you're giving a project to somebody like this, they aren't looking into these really fine details to say, hey, that's not really a perfect star or something to that effect. They're looking at the whole scope of the thing. So I just want to point to not get over crazy about getting all these nodes cleaned up to make it look exactly like the original project, especially when you're working with really fine details. Let's fix this one panel. You're going to be surprised how much better this thing's going to be. David, this one's for you, brother, and every other CNC brother and sister who's watching this video. And let's just clean up one more here, something that's got a lot of stuff. We're going to do Santa. Santa's got a lot of straight lines too, so this is where we want to have that checkbox keep the sharp corners. As it'll know to put nodes in, not just Bezier curves, it's going to put black nodes in where it needs to as well. So we have Santa selected. I'm going to go into, oh, wait a minute. We don't want to go into that. Oh, okay, we can. You can see how many nodes are there. There's so many of them. We're going to keep that tolerance. We have keep sharp corners, Bezier curves, tolerance of 0.005, and replace selected vectors, preview, let it do its calculations, and look how clean that is. We're going to say, okay, let's see if Santa still looks like Santa. There you go. Santa still looks like Santa. If you've worked with this before and you've got some input, please give me a comment down below, not just for me, but for other people who are watching this video so they can learn about some of your little tricks. And if this video has helped you out, I would love to see that in a comment as well, and ask your questions, what you'd like me to create a video on. I'll go ahead and look at those questions and I'll work towards creating a video. And don't forget to stop by idcwoodcraft.com for your CNC router bits to make your amazing CNC projects, because that's why I provide bits to you. Hey, if this video is helpful, then give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, because I got a ton of videos that goes deep into this kind of stuff. idcwoodcraft.com